Man, I got the blues. I guess there's only one thing to do. It's been nice knowing you, wrist. Oh, wait. That's emo. We got the blues. So we need something a little different. Hell yeah. A little bit more John Lennon, a little less Joe Bonamassa. But here's the difference. John Lennon's dead. Joe Bonamassa just released a new album entitled Dust Bowl yesterday. And that's the album that I'm actually going to start off today's reviews with. And that's because, well, I said I wanted to take this channel in a little bit of a different direction. I know that a lot of other people are handling the Strokes album that was released yesterday, so I'm going with Bonamassa. Why? Because I got the blues, baby. I got the blues. Now, for those of you who don't like the blues or don't know what the blues are, first off, blue is a color. But the blues is a musical movement that has been around for quite some time. We're talking longer than metal. We're talking longer than most genres that you may be familiar with. And it is usually characterized by just phenomenal instrumentalization and oftentimes very depressing or saddened lyrics. Hence why whenever you are sad, sometimes you'll say, well, I've kind of got the blues. I'm a little blue today. Yeah, you're not actually blue. You're not a smurf, but it's just kind of a turn of a phrase, so to speak. Well, anyways, Joe Bonamassa's Dust Bowl, as I mentioned previously, was released yesterday, and if you don't know who Joe Bonamassa is, then you've really been living under a rock for the past, 10 years or so. He's a very successful solo blues musician who has been releasing albums now since the early 2000s, and they've steadily gained acclaim on the Billboard charts, with last year's Black Rock peaking at number 39. However, his past 3 or 4 releases ever since 2005 have all been number 1 on the Billboard Blues charts, which just shows that anybody within the blues circle knows of it, should I say, of a Joe Bonamassa release is probably out and getting it, because he constantly tops the charts whenever his albums are released, and I do not think that Dust Bowl is going to be much different in that particular regard. Why? Because there's another appeal with Joe Bonamassa fans and with the style of music in which he employs that also can really get a lot of fans of old classic rock involved, and even newer fans such as the younger generation, such as myself. Not just because I have that whole mind-expanding love of music, but just because the stuff that he puts out is just damn good. He's kind of one of those modern-day guitar marvels that does everything on a solo scale, however, just thinks big and really thinks creative. Whenever we think of stuff like that, whenever this generation will talk about guitar heroes, they'll think about names such as Slash or Buckethead. Well, Joe Bonamassa should also be on that list. Let me tell you, it should. And this album is definitely one where if it's your first Joe Bonamassa experience, it's going to prove it. Why? Because there's a wide range of styles on here, not to mention a very, very wide range of musical expression. The styles are all going to be primarily blues-centered. However, you're going to see multiple little undulations and differences between track to track. You're going to see the more fast-paced mid-tempo affair, then you're going to hear what you would consider to be the blues ballad, the thing that you would hear in a coffee shop by a 4-piece, maybe with a guy that has a horn or something like that. But this is done with a guitar, a bass, with a drum, with a soft, soothing voice of a man who's just desolate and depraved, just pissed off, whatever. But 2 perfect examples of this would be the songs The Meaning of the Blues and No Love on the Streets. These are 2 of those really softer, low-key, more ballady type sounding songs that just... Joe takes these songs and takes you on an emotional ride, not to mention shows that he can play the fuck out of a guitar. The Meaning of the Blues is probably the most amazing track that I've heard out of Bonamassa in quite some time, not to mention a true highlight of this particular album. The man just continuously decides to shred from about the 2-minute and 50-second to 3-minute mark all the way to toward the end of this 5.5-minute long song. Not to mention the whole concept behind the song, the framework behind it, is extremely well done as well. It seems very simplistic, but sometimes the blues is not all about complexity. The blues is about something very simple in the background that allows you to really speak a very easily recalled lyrical theme to your audience, and then once that is done, you're able to break it down and really show your virtuosity. Overall, I gotta say one thing about Dust Bowl. And this is just going off of a general theme of idea. I would listen to this album over a lot of prog albums. And I like progressive music a lot. Like, I really do. I've really kind of fallen out of love with it a little bit recently because, well, there's just not that much coming out that's really inspired me. I don't care what people say. But this is an album that I would probably sooner listen to than a couple of other bands that have been recommended to me. And I think it's just basically because I kind of have this savage understanding for what Joe is able to accomplish. Not to mention, I'm able to marvel at this and not feel as though I am having too much of my time enveloped, because this is an experience that lasted over an hour but did not feel that way. Sometimes whenever you listen to other records, you see the time frame maybe might be 55 minutes long, and it might feel like you were sitting there for 2 hours. You might feel like you're wasting time. With this particular record, it doesn't feel like you're wasting time. In fact, it actually feels like that the record ends way before it should. Almost like you've only been sitting there listening for a half an hour whenever you've actually given about 70 minutes of your time to this particular album. And that's the mark of a strong release. Cannot recommend this enough if you want something that's just a little bit different, but still has that guitar virtuosity that you're oh so used to in the heavy metal realm. Yeah, it's not going to be... It's going to be actual singing, folks. But it's good stuff. Now, where's that knife? I want to throw it at Justin Bieber.